Some major news here out of Canada today that's not going to bode well for Trump. So to set the stage, Canada has a new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, from the Liberal Party. The previous Prime Minister was, of course, Justin Trudeau, whose popularity was waning after 10 years in power. And that left a really big opening for Canada's Conservative Party to take over. In fact, the Conservatives were a staggering 20 points up in polling, all but guaranteeing a wipeout against the Liberals. And presumably, that would be good news for Trump. Republicans would ostensibly want to deal with another Conservative government. But then Trump decided to impose tariffs and launch a trade war and get Canada sucked into this war against the U.S. And that didn't exactly bolster the virtues of conservatism north of the border. In fact, it hurt the Conservative cause so much that 20-point lead was eliminated as Canadians flocked to a Liberal Party that they view as more willing to break with Donald Trump than the ideologically similar Conservatives. And that phenomenon has become so apparent that today, Canada's new Prime Minister has called a snap election for April. If nothing else, this is a sign of confidence by the Liberal Party that they can ride the wave of anti-Trump, anti-conservative sentiment to victory in an election that, without Donald Trump, would have likely been a bloodbath against the left. And let's be clear, the Liberals in Canada have no intention of letting the anti-Trump sentiment wane. Here's Mark Carney speaking out against Trump today.
We are facing the most significant crisis of our lifetimes because of President Trump's unjustified trade actions and his threats to our sovereignty. Our response must be to build a strong economy and a more secure Canada. President Trump claims that Canada isn't a real country. He wants to break us so America can own us. We will not let that happen. We're over the shock of the betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons. We have to look out for ourselves. We have to look out for each other.
In other words, Carney is clear about who the enemy is, and it's Donald Trump. So the question for Canadians then becomes, who do you think will be able to stand up to him? The Liberal Party that has nothing in common with today's GOP, or the Conservative Party that is ideologically similar with Trump's Republican Party? In fact, take a look at this excerpt from the New York Times and let me know if this sounds like someone you might know. Mr. Poilievre has also waded into culture war topics and borrowed language from Mr. Trump. He attacks practices and politicians as woke, has called for the defunding of the Canadian national broadcaster, and said that he believes there are only two genders. He said that he wants to make Canada the world's cryptocurrency capital, showing the same affinity for the alternative financial assets as Mr. Trump. So yeah, not great if you're Pierre Poilievre and you've built your brand on sounding just like Donald Trump at a time when he is the most hated person in the entire country of Canada. And yet, the ultimate irony is that far from Trump learning his lesson and reversing course so that he can actually help bolster an ideologically similar political party, a party that might be more willing to work with him in the future, instead he's just decided to barrel ahead, repeating the same 51st state nonsense like a pull-string doll who only has 4 phrases. Even when he was recently informed that if this fever dream were to come to fruition, which it won't, Canada would likely be a blue state, still that didn't dissuade him.
Are you concerned that if they became the 51st state, they would be a very, very blue state? Very, very big and very, very blue.
No, there might be, but it would, you know, you have that artificial line that goes, that straight artificial, that looked like it was drawn by a ruler. Somebody with a, I don't mean a ruler like a king, I mean like a ruler, this way. And it's just an artificial line that was drawn in the sand or in the ice. And you know, and can I tell you, Peter, just you add that to this country, what a beautiful landmass, the most beautiful landmass anywhere in the world. And it was just cut off for whatever reason. It would be great. Now, is it liberal? Maybe. But, you know, a conservative until I got involved, because I don't care who wins up there. I frankly probably would do better with the liberal than the conservative, if you want to know the truth. But just a little while ago, before I got involved and totally changed the election, which I don't care about, probably it's to our advantage, actually. But the conservative was leading against, I call him Governor Trudeau. The conservative was leading by 35 points. So, you know, so I don't know about that. I think Canada is a place like a lot of other places. If you have a good candidate, the candidate's going to win.
I'm not sure how delusional Trump has to be to think that a country that has universal health care, abortion rights, and strict gun laws would want to join a country that is actively cutting health care so that they can give tax breaks to billionaires, forcing women to bleed out in parking lots in deference to draconian anti-abortion laws, and experiencing daily occurrences of gun violence. But then again, delusion has never been in short supply with Trump. But the reality is that Trump is less focused on a long-term strategy and more focused on a short-term distraction. He knows how aggressively unpopular his trade war is. He knows that it's sending costs surging. He knows that it's sending the stock market plummeting. And so to distract from all of that, he's making this all a referendum on American patriotism and being strong and tough, basically trying to engender this rally round the flag effect as if this is 9/11 and not a trade war that he himself instigated and launched. But the reality, which is that Trump is an idiot who decided to launch this trade war thinking that everybody else would back down, hasn't come to bear. And now the economy is crashing as the direct result of his unilateral decision. But we won't be distracted, and we know full well who's to blame. In fact, he is so desperate for a distraction that beyond just Canada, he's also ramping up his attacks against Greenland and Panama. In Greenland, the citizens are taking to it about as well as the Canadians are. And that backlash flies directly in the face of what Trump has been claiming and suggesting that the people of Greenland actually want to join the United States.
I think Greenland will be worked out with us. I think we're going to have it. And I think the people want to be with us. As you know, there's 55,000 people there that want to be with us. I don't know really what claim Denmark has to it, but it would be a very unfriendly act if they didn't allow that to happen, because that's for protection of the free world. Right now you have Russian ships, you have China ships, you have ships from various countries. It's not a good situation. It has nothing to do with the United States other than we're the one that can provide the freedom. They can't. They can't. I mean, they put 2 dog sleds there 2 weeks ago. They thought that was protection. But people don't like the way they've been treated by Denmark. They don't like the way they've been treated by Denmark. And they do like us.
Now, where have we heard this rhetoric before, that people who live in a sovereign country are actually desperate to join the invading country? Sound familiar? But despite Donald Trump trying to manifest his wishes into reality, no, Greenland doesn't want anything to do with him, Panama doesn't want anything to do with him, Canada doesn't want anything to do with him, and frankly, fewer and fewer Americans do either. Trump has already squandered his honeymoon approval rating, with his ratings now underwater, despite coming into office with a net positive approval rating. Trump really has managed to bridge the divide between countries and continents. Most of the world is now united in their contempt for him. In the meantime, if Canada bucks the historical trend and elects yet another Liberal Prime Minister after the previous Liberal Prime Minister, the Conservatives will have Donald Trump to thank, given the fact that the American president can't seem to get out of his own way or theirs. Who would have guessed that the best tool for liberalism in Canada would be the most far-right American president in history?